I'm call the regular mayor and council meeting to order for Monday, January 27th. Time is 6:30 p.m. at the Delaware City Fire Company. If everybody could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, thank you. Appreciate everybody hanging in when we had to resolve these technical difficulties real quick. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackson. Councilmember Dudley.
Here.
Councilmember Roberts. Councilmember Turley. Here. Councilmember Dillaplan. Here. City Manager Loveland. Here. Finance Manager Gray. Here. City Solicitor Rodondo.
Here.
Police Chief Henderson.
Here.
City Secretary Pinckney.
Thank you. All right, we go into the action of the minutes of the previous meeting. There's one correction on my behalf. This meeting, Councilman Dudley was talking about money funding for the food closet. And he was talking more or less talking about money for capital projects and not funding the food closet itself. So I mistakenly said that money couldn't be used for that, but it can be used for capital projects. That was my mistake. Any other additions or corrections? None, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second it.
For the record, that was for December 16th. All right, motion second, any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion's carried. Going to the police report.
Thanks, sir. Mayor, council, city staff, and those in attendance, I'd like to present the December police report. If you will, refer to the map on page 1, which shows the crime views highlighted incidents. Starting with the green noise violation pinpoint at the top of the map, that was loud juveniles who were causing a disturbance with neighbors from inside their residence, taken care of by officers. Just below that is a lighter green larceny pinpoint, which is a theft of Christmas decorations from a front porch. We have no suspect information. To the left is a green theft pinpoint. That was a possible theft of oil from the subject's large residential oil tank. The green larceny pinpoint below that was not a larceny. It was an offensive touching between two adults, and the suspect was identified and later taken into custody. The classification was an error by our dispatch. The gray W pinpoint was a warrant attempt for a subject wanted by Newcastle County Police for a misdemeanor charge and by several courts for bench warrants. The subject is not a Delaware City resident, but frequents the city, and officers are determined to locate the subject. Below that incident is an orange simple assault pinpoint, which was also an error. This was juveniles. This was a harassment complaint where juveniles were verbally harassing adults outside the PAL during the holiday play. Officer Williams was able to later identify the juveniles and make contact with them and their parents to advise that this behavior will not be tolerated. The gray missing person was an adult subject whose family members were concerned about their welfare. We're happy to report they returned home the next day. The green vandalism pinpoint next to that was a slashed tire reported during the early morning hours, I believe 3 a.m., in which the victim was uncooperative with Newcastle County officers who responded. The noise violation near the bottom of the page was a loud radio complaint resolved by Officer Webb. And then to the far right of the map is a gray suspicious pinpoint, which was an occupied vehicle that I stopped while leaving 42 Ponds parking lot after dark. The subject and the vehicle were valid, and the occupants did not appear to be involved in any suspicious activity. If you look at December's calls for service, these are the highlighted crime view incidents. Our busiest day was Thursday, and the busiest time of day was 1 p.m. We had 83 incidents in December compared to 41 December of last year. It's a change of 102%. And for total incidents, we ended the year with 716. That's up from 668, a difference of 7%. We had 44 traffic arrests in December, 17 warnings, 3 crime prevention checks, 14 crime reports, 23 field service reports, 1 accident, and 7 criminal arrests. Officer Williams handled an incident where a subject threatened multiple adult victims and who fled before officers' arrival. The suspect was located and answered to 3 counts of terroristic threatening. They were released on bail but ordered to have no contact with the victims. Officer Webb apprehended a subject during a vehicle stop who was wanted 7 times by the Delaware State Police Troop 9 and by various Newcastle County courts. The suspect was turned over to DSP to answer to their charges and bench warrants. Officers assisted in holiday events, which included the Delaware City Community Park District's Lunch with Santa, as well as the annual Christmas parade. The department also participated in hat and glove and toy giveaways throughout the month. And we're going to continue to address the abandoned vehicles throughout the city. The weather didn't really cooperate with us. We didn't want to bother the tow company. But if you observe a vehicle parked on the street that appears inoperable, dismantled, wrecked, or displays a registration plate expired by more than 30 days, or no plate at all, please call the police department. And that concludes. I'm sorry. The next Police Accountability Committee meeting will be February 13th. That's a Thursday at the Library Town Hall Meeting Room at 6:30. The first meeting was on November 11th. The 7-member committee includes Chastity Connell, chairperson, Art Turner, vice chairperson, Gianni Vendetti, secretary, Reverend Jeffrey Miller, Avis Nash, Tim Conkus, and Jacqueline Sweetman. Any Delaware City resident may attend, and I appreciate all those who were in attendance for the November meeting. That concludes my police report.
All right, any questions or comments for the chief? All right, thank you, sir. Moving on to the city manager's report.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council and residents. The report tonight, the first thing on here is the Community Center HVAC replacement project. I've updated on this one every month for quite a while now. Unfortunately, at the completion of the project, we discovered that the gym is not reaching desired temperatures. So we've worked with the general contractors to try to solve the issue. We're now working with AECOM and the engineering firm that designed the system for the proposal. We met with them last week, myself, the mayor, Keystone, and AECOM. Keystone believes they have a solution, but we're waiting on them to follow up with us in a week or so. Artesian's water main replacement project, I spoke with them again today, and they are looking at a completion date of February 14th. The recent weather conditions have delayed them slightly. Artesian's doing some testing this week, and then Technovate will complete installing services and the final main tie-ins, and they'll also fix any remaining blacktop repairs. The Delaware City Library ADA ramp upgrades, I met with the contractor last week, for the final review of the plans, and we're gonna be presenting this to the HPC at the February meeting. I also just mentioned again that we have open seats on Planning Commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, and we need members for our Board of Ethics. So if anyone's interested in serving, just give me a call or stop in Town Hall. The Madison Monroe Street Flood Mitigation Project, we signed the agreement with Vertandis for their engineering services for this project. They are in the design phase now, including fieldwork and surveys, and they are creating drawings and specifications to put the bid out for our contractor. We also signed an agreement with the Keeney Company for their donation of $200,000 to fund the city's financial obligation to this flood mitigation project. In outdoor recreation bike rentals, I met with Kelly Benson from In Outdoor Recreation to discuss bringing their bike rental stations to Delaware City this spring. He's here tonight to give council and the residents a presentation about that. The last thing I have is the Delaware City 2025 municipal election will be held on April 1st to select a mayor and 2 council members. So if you're interested in running for any of those positions, please stop by Town Hall for more information. I also noted the meetings I attended this month, the January 7th HPC meeting, January 22nd Library Board meeting, and the Planning Board of Adjustments and Fort Yukon Board meeting were all canceled. And that's my report.
All right, any questions for the city manager? I apologize if I missed this, but are we still on the same timeline for the artesian on Clinton Street?
So we're on for the 14th, with that has been pushed out. It's been about 4 weeks past what they originally planned, but with weather and things, it's just kind of backed them up some. So as long as, he said, as long as there's no more significant weather issues, they're looking at being complete by the 14th.
Okay. All right, city solicitor's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just two short matters. Two ordinances. One is on for tonight regarding the marijuana dispensaries based on the state law that's going into effect that will allow for licenses to issue for sales of marijuana. In addition, I do have a ordinance for consideration tonight regarding the election. It's an emergency ordinance to allow for sufficient time for people to submit an application to run for mayor. The election, as the city manager indicated, is April 1st. This ordinance is just to provide more time in light of the fact that this meeting occurred 1 week later than usual due to the holiday. That ordinance would allow for the city to issue notice about the mayoral availability of that seat by February 10th, and people could then submit by March 2nd of this year to run for mayor for the election on April 1st. So that is something that was prepared today for your consideration. There are also two executive session matters that we can address in that session.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the solicitor? All right, thank you, sir. Finance report.
I have, first of all, thank you to everyone who's here. I have, completed halfway through the fiscal year, which is a good thing. We're still in the surplus, so hopefully that continues. I was saying I have, not working. I was saying, well, testing. I'm sorry, I'll try to talk louder. So, I was saying we're, after completing 6 months of the fiscal year, we're still in surplus, which is good. Excuse me, revenues are still looking good in every department. We've increased a little bit in some areas. I'm gonna point out, I don't know if anybody also knows people that have Delmarva Power, but I'll tell you what, they started charging a delivery charge, and our electric at town hall's going up, and I imagine any residents who has that, and I mean, I have friends on Facebook that are like commenting, so it's, something has changed, and I've talked with, Delmarva Power over the past couple months regarding this, and I finally got hold of someone, I think I said that in the last meeting, but they just say they got a new billing system, and, you know, the delivery charge is something new, that people are supposed to recognize on their bill, but I mean, I've seen a significant increase in, the electric bill. So, that's the thing that, you know, I mean, I'm looking at the line item for everybody on our, financial statement, and I'm like, it's just tough to look at that when they look at what we thought we budgeted administration page. If you look at our electricity, we budgeted 48,000, we've already spent 30,000 because in the past several months, they've jacked up these prices. So anyway, I mean, I have some budget revisions to make as well, but still, it's just, that's one of the major things that I see standing out for me in the departments. So, and then if you go to the last page, going into too much detail where the cash accounts are, you'll notice that we have, the last line which shows the investment account, it has, lost money this month, only a net of the 22,000, but, you know, I mean, we made income, but the changes in the types of investments, went down to 22,000, so it's kind of, interesting because it was going up and up and up, and then the election happened and it went down, and then it went up for 1 month, and then it went down again, so probably maybe a political thing with people pulling in and out of investment categories, so. And also in that regard, I had, one of the council members mentioned having, an interest-bearing account for one of the small accounts, the mayor's ball account. However, I did check with the bank, and there are interest-bearing accounts, and I think what I might do is take all of the outstanding regular checking accounts that have low usage, say, and make them interest-bearing, and I can share with whoever wants to know, they're on a tiered interest rate, so in other words, you know, it goes from each level of 10,000 to 24,000, you know, the interest would go up from like 5% for like 5,000 in a balance to 40% for the over million, which is why we're doing well in our money market account. So I can investigate that, and I don't know if it's something that has to be brought up and voted on, or do I just make a change like that?
Put it on the agenda. Once you find out, just put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, put the details, okay. And, the real estate transfer taxes have gone up some because apparently there's people, some selling and buying going on in Delaware City, so that's a good thing, since we make income from Newcastle County for the real estate transfer taxes. So that's another little income increase we received. And that's all I have. If anyone has any questions, as usual, if anyone looks at this and wants to review anything.
Any questions on the finance report? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion subject to audit.
I make a motion, we accept the financial secretary's report.
Subject to audit, correct?
Subject to audit, yes.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, motion is second. Any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion's carried. Appointments, announcements, and communication. No appointments this evening. Is there any committee, organization that wants to give a report? Library?
Yes, can that be UCC go first?
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, okay. I'm Linda Beck from the Friends of the African Union Church Cemetery, and I want to report that the Friends group is again co-convening groups to commemorate the 2025 Juneteenth. And events will be held between May 24th and June 19th at the Mount Salem Church, the African Union Church Cemetery, the Delaware City Library, Battery Park, and Fort Delaware. And we'd like to acknowledge those who are helping to fund this event, be the Delaware City Refining Company, Main Street Delaware City, the Delaware City Library, the Division of Parks and Recreation, the Friends of the African Union Church Cemetery, and we hope Delaware City will help fund this too. So other news is I'd like to report that we have a new solar security system installation at the African Union Church Cemetery, and that should be completed by the end of this week. And it'll provide 24-hour surveillance of the cemetery with transmissions directly to the Delaware City Police Department. And funding for this project was provided by State of Delaware 2023 Community Reinvestment Fund for capital upgrades. And I'd like to acknowledge and thank Senator Nicole Poore and the previous city manager, Dave Baylor, for helping with this. So as soon as we see the system is running, then I'll close this, grant out that we got from the state. Thank you.
Anybody else, library?
This is something I think the community could really use. We have a new social services specialist that will be at the library every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. She'll be able to help with job guidance and career training, resume support, computer assistance, help with applying for Medicaid and SNAP benefits, housing and food resources, information about Delaware Health and Human Service agencies, and referrals to other partner organizations. I know there is a need for this in our community. It's completely free of charge. She'll be here every Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. But if people don't use it, we won't get to keep it. So please send anyone that you know of that could use this kind of help. If she can't help you directly, she can direct you to someone who can, or she can shepherd you through the process. So I would encourage everyone to take advantage, to tell people that you know that could use this about it. And the only other thing I have is this Saturday is National Take Your Child to the Library Day. So we have a lot of fun events. We're gonna have a Bluey costume character, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, lots of games, lots of other things from the time we open at 11 until we close at 4. So bring the kids to the library this Saturday.
All right, thank you. Planning, Tim, anything from planning?
Planning hasn't had any business for a couple of months, and I just got notified that we don't have any this month. And I think HPC has the same thing.
All right, Fort DuPont, anything, Tim?
No, sir.
All right, Lydia, anything?
I have two things to talk about today. For Drag and Run, I just want to remind everybody that our meetings are the second Tuesday of every month, over here at the Park Building. We are always looking for volunteers, so if you are interested, please reach out to me or Pam, as we're Vice President and President. The next thing I would like to talk about is the Delaware City Food Closet. So, as you guys know, the state program for Delaware City has shut down, so we did have to take on a lot of that program. To put it into perspective, in 2024 at this time, we were serving about an average of 5 families a month, and now we are serving an average of 25 families every 2 weeks. So, it is a big difference. With that, I do want to give a huge shout out to all the volunteers that do help us with maintaining everything, keeping everything stocked, and keeping everything flowing. Each family also does receive voucher for milk, bread, and eggs that they can redeem at Sunset Market downtown. So I want to give a shout out to Ken and Juanita for letting us do that and partnering with us to give back to the community. I do want to let everybody know that the food closet is open the second and last Monday of the month from 6:30 till all of the people are served and helped out. And if you would like to make any donations, they can be made to or made payable to Delaware City Food Closet or dropped off at Town Hall.
All right, thank you. All right, any organizations, overlooked, committees, organizations overlooked? All right, thank you. We want to move into presentations. We do have two guests in attendance this evening. The first one I'm going to introduce is the 12th District Newcastle County Representative Kevin Konecko. Kevin, or Councilman, if you don't mind just going to the podium, and I believe Kevin wants to address the council.
All right. You hear me good? All right. Oh, okay, there we go. Hey, thank you, Mayor Johnson, council members. Thank you very much for having me today. Again, I'm Councilman Kevin Konecko. I think I've met a few of you in the room, not everybody, but if you haven't, feel free to always reach out. Just a quick update. As we all know, the elections just happened, so we're kind of in this transition phase right now. I'm getting my staff together. Karen Barlow was gracious enough to stay on with me till the end of the year, but she has retired, so we're hiring a new legislative assistant. Her name is Kieran Weicker. She's first day is February 3rd, so I'm going to get the information out to the Delaware City team so you have her information, but I think she's going to do a great job. For the team, for the minutes, if anybody wants to know, my county cell phone number is a 302-803-2212, so that's 302-803-2212. Just feel free to reach out to me, call me, text me, and I will always get back to you, but I want to put that information out there. We have transitioning, just a quick update from the council now. As you know, Matt Meyer has taken over as governor. Marcus Henry got sworn in a couple of weeks ago. Tomorrow at the council meeting, we are going to confirm all his department heads. So we have every general manager is basically new except the community services. Carrie Casey staying on, but we're going to have a new Department of Public Safety head. We're going to have a new police chief of Newcastle County, a new Department of Public Works, all the way down to our county attorney, all the way down the line. CFO, Human Resources, they're all coming in. Mark is bringing his whole new team. I've talked to every single one, had great conversations. I do think we have a very talented team coming in, so look forward to voting for their confirmations tomorrow. Also, I think a win for the 12th District. I got appointed to be a co-chair of the Public Safety Committee, so I'll be working very closely with our Newcastle County Police Department. Do look to sit down you, sir, some more municipalities and Newcastle and Delaware City Police Department as well, moving forward as we kind of work through some of the issues and the jurisdictional issues that we have between Newcastle County, Delaware State Police, and our local jurisdictions. Also, if you are interested in serving on a board or commission in Newcastle County, please reach out to me and let me know through my cell phone and through my email, and I will be happy to work with you on getting you on a board and commission. And good news is we passed an ordinance a month ago that actually now we think that, I said board and commission members should be a little bit compensated for the time, so it's actually $100 a meeting now as well. I love volunteers, but folks need a little compensation going up and down to Wilmington or wherever they are for that once a month, so it is $100 a meeting as well for serving on one of those boards and commissions. They're very, very valuable. Some of them are actually pretty important. People don't even realize it. So those are pretty important stuff. Another win for the 12th District. We're going through this kind of zoning process. We're looking at a lot of things with the comp plan. The Dragon Run parcels, I had extensive conversations. They were going to be rezoned into basically business flex, which will allow warehouses to go in that area. We have talked to land use. I was in extensive conversations with them, and those parcels are going to convert back to what was they originally zoned in, which is that suburban zoning, essentially, which will basically protect it. It's a backhanded way of protecting it, because right now, there's no competitive market to put homes there, and they would have to go through a very, very extensive process via me and my office to get that approved. So I think that's going to be protected land moving forward. Also, quick update on the marijuana ordinances, just because you guys are talking about it, so I just wrote it down. The council did pass a bill that allow 1,000 feet buffering, but we are going to allow them in the county. It has to be 1,000 feet from each other. So that has been passed. I know a lot of municipalities, I haven't had a conversation with you, Mayor Johnson, about exactly what Delaware City is doing, but I know some of the other municipalities have kind of Middletown have totally said, we're nixing it. In the county, we didn't have that option at all. We had to do it, right? The state passed the law, we had to follow it, but they did give the municipalities a little more wiggle room moving forward with that. Also, impact fees. I know some of you might have been seeing this on social media. What that was us basically trying to raise impact fees on new developments across the district. So when you buy a new construction home, a developer pays a certain amount of money to the county, which goes to parks, libraries, EMS, police, and fire services. We introduced an ordinance. It passed back in late November. Matt Meyer, the day after Christmas, vetoed it, unfortunately, and we didn't have enough votes to override that. But we do plan on reintroducing this legislation in the next 3 or 4 months, because Marcus Henry has basically said he's willing to sign it. I think we have a few more votes now to get it done. So I think it's really important we do something like that to raise more revenue for the county. To be full transparent, I tell it like it is, that I think we might be facing some type of budget uncertainty in the next couple of years in the county. ARPA money, all that federal COVID money, it's all dried up. So we're gonna have to figure out, get creative ways how we figure this out. So raising impact fees is a way, I think, of doing that. New construction homes are being built, especially south of the canal, which is half the 12th district, you know, at a staggering rate. My thing is, why can't builders pay their fair share? So we're looking at doing that right now. But again, I'm here to kind of listen, to learn. I'm gonna pop in these meetings, you know, occasionally every now and then. If not, you're gonna meet Kieran. Kieran will be at the meetings to kind of keep information. You know, we have 3 municipalities in the district, right? We have Newcastle, we have Delaware City, we have Odessa. It's important that we keep up on all these issues as well, plus all the other unincorporated areas of Newcastle County. But thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I'm happy, Paul, to answer any questions if anybody has any. If not, I'll be sticking around for a little bit and be happy to answer those as well.
Any questions for the councilman? Tim?
What kind of commissions do you need help on?
So right now, there's a couple of commissions that we need seats on. I know there's a diversity commission, we're looking for a few more people. There is, I think we might need another seat actually in the Board of Adjustment, I gotta look at it. There are a few design review and advisory commissions that we look at, but I think you have to live in St. George's for that actually, that's the one in our district. But I can get the actual specific ones to you to let you know about that a little bit more, where we're at short on. Yeah, I just have to be in front of my computer to double check.
All right, now, Councilman, real quick for the, just a point of clarification, when you're talking about the rezoning, you said the Dragon Run parcels, or is that the same as the refinery parcels? Is it pretty much the same? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can show you on the map, and give you, but yeah, that's that protected, that's the buffer that I wanted to keep.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't want anything developed there.
Okay, all right. Terry?
Hi, Mr. Conoco. The fees that are being assessed on new construction, I have no idea how steep they are or aren't, but won't that be passed through to the buyer and add further to more expensive housing?
So that's one of the arguments that the opponents of it used. Here's what I would say. I would say that most of the new construction homes are in the excess right now in Newcastle County of $600,000 to $650,000 to $700,000. Most of them are out-of-state buyers, and most of them can absolutely afford those extra fees. They're like $800 to $1,000 tacked on to a $700,000 house and a 30-year mortgage. It's totally not gonna put, I think, people out of the realm of paying for it. And in that bill, we accepted certain affordable MTPUs, which is affordable housing units, and nonprofit buildings to be in that. So I don't think it's gonna affect people from buying a home in Newcastle County. I understand that's the argument. I understand that there's a certain amount of kernel of truth to that. However, in the way that we've seen from studies, is it gonna slow down the market or slow down building? I just don't think so, but it's a fair question, Terry.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else?
Yes, absolutely. 302-803-2212. Yep.
Right, anyone else? All right, appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
All right, now up next we have a presentation for Finn Outdoor. I believe it's Mr. Kelly Benson, is that correct?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Take the podium, please.
Mayor, Council, and those in attendance tonight, thank you very much. My name is Kelly Benson. I'm the owner of Finn Outdoor Recreation. We are a company that is based here in Delaware, offering outdoor recreation opportunities for residents and visitors to municipalities and places and destinations. So my proposal this evening is I would love one of our locations to be here in Delaware City. You have really a great entrance to the bike path which goes along the canal. I know that you already have quite a bike rider community here, and it's another piece in our network as we grow to try to provide accessible ways that people can get on bikes and increase visitorship to your town. So the way that our system works, we install small racks of bikes We would propose just a 4-bike rack here to start, but we can scale up and down very easily. Users access all of the recreational equipment via a smartphone app, which they download on the phone. Our bikes have a smart locking system on them, which will unlock. People can ride the bikes, and then when they come back, it charges them the fare. Our fare is $10 to unlock the bike, and then it comes out to about $5 every half an hour that they're on the bike. Our average ride is about an hour and a half. We are actually located in a couple different areas. Right near here, we're on the riverfront of Wilmington. We're in Newcastle. We just signed in St. George's in Chesapeake City. And so the goal here is that when someone downloads our app, it's a key to unlocking equipment in all of these different areas. We actually go all the way down to Ocean City. That's our most southern point right now. But if you have the Fin app in any of the towns, you know that you've got a bike waiting, or in a couple areas in Maryland, we have kayaks on the system as well. So it's just a very easy way to take away those boundaries. No longer do you have to worry about a car rack or being able to afford your own bike. If you live in a small apartment, you don't have room for some of these things. It can just be cumbersome. And so all of our equipment is right at the tip of a trailhead. We're in a destination. And then the cool thing is that if we have someone who rides a bike over in Chesapeake City, they might not know of Delaware City, but when they join our ecosystem, we put out mailers, we put out emails that allows people to see all of the different destinations that they can explore and enjoy. And you might get someone who wasn't so familiar with Delaware City coming and visiting. So the proposed location here in Delaware City, we do depend on foot traffic, but we would be looking at Battery Park. It is probably the more highly trafficked area that you have here in town, especially with the ferry over to Pewpatch Island. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have. If anyone in the audience wants a flyer, I do have a flyer. Actually, a couple logistics. So there's no cost to the town for this. For each ride, we actually give $1 back to the town, so it is a small revenue generator for you. The more ridership, the more the town gets. We provide all of the customer service, the maintenance, and then the insurance policy, which covers everyone as well.
Any questions? I do have a couple of quick questions. I guess this one's for Brittany. So is Pastel Petals, are they pretty much done now?
Yes, they've closed.
Okay. All right. The other question I had was the model that you have, apparently it's scalable because you're in multiple locations, but as far as Delaware City, like if we wanted to put a bike rack at the community center, because technically the community center is pretty much the trailhead really, because that's where people jump on to go to Chesapeake City and stuff like that. Is something like that possible?
It is. I will tell you that we deploy and move locations, I'm not going to say quite often, but we readjust our system quite often. So if we have a location that's underperforming, we will move it to another location that we will see better traffic through. What I will tell you is that a couple years ago when we first were investigating Delaware City, we do it's a simple analysis, but we really look at the lay of the land. We try to find where the people are. We really look for those high foot traffic areas. While yes, you can find our locations on the app, and yes, we do have a very good user base at this point. We find that the successful locations are usually those where you get the spontaneous person who walks by and says, "Oh my gosh, check this out! Here's a bike here. I can use it," and then we really can introduce them into the platform. So it's something that for sure we could have a conversation and talk about what Delaware City needs. But the success is really just going to depend on that rider volume.
Okay, understood. All right, any other questions? Tim?
How do you protect your equipment from vandalism?
Good question. We have, well, let's see. What I'll say is we have designed a system which is tried and tested in Wilmington, Delaware, and a couple other areas, and if we do well there, we pretty much will do well everywhere. So it's there are multiple ways that we lock a bike and that ensure that the bike is locked at the end of the ride.
1 second. Councilman Turley?
Two questions. One is, how frequently are the bicycles maintained for safety condition? And the second question is, do your representatives ensure that the areas that are city property that are being utilized to display and to make the bikes available, do your people make sure that it's cleaned up around where the bikes are kept?
Could you hear both those questions?
I could hear both the questions. So the first answer to your question, this actually goes back, it will address the vandalism a little bit as well. We don't use typical ordinary bikes. So our bikes, the majority of them anyways, they have airless tires, they don't have chains, we actually use a belt drive. They are a commercial grade bike that is made to stand up to the rigors of the use of our patrons. We monitor them regularly. Usually we're out every 2 times, every other week, so twice a month. But then we also gauge that off of ridership as well. So our heavily ridden locations, we're out there more. And then we also have a very great user base that is very good at reporting maintenance issues back to us. So if we find that there is an issue, we can remotely shut the bike off, and then we can go ahead and address the issue. But we are out and about all summer long in the high season, making sure all of our equipment is good and well to go. In regard to the areas around our bike racks, to be honest with you, we don't have a large issue with debris or cleanliness. All of our bike racks, they are gravity weighted, so we're not bolting into anything. We are not really changing your property whatsoever. And in the areas that we operate, when we're there to maintain the bikes, for sure, yeah, we'll pick up some trash or things along those lines to keep the area looking clean, but it's really not a problem that we've had historically.
Excellent. And one last question. Do you only have human-powered bikes, or do you also have electric bikes that you place into places?
Sure. We make a conscious effort to get people outside, to enjoy the outdoors, to get a little bit of physical exercise. So it's our choice to deploy just human-powered bikes. It's really our philosophy and what we're trying to accomplish with this system. So no electric bikes, and we don't plan on offering that in the future.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Does the bike come with some type of helmet on there on the bike, or?
So in the user agreement, the user agrees to bring their own helmet. It's pretty much industry standard at this point for this type of a service. What we do have is this is not for everyone. You do need to be 18 or older to actually rent the bike and sign the agreement. Those 16 or older can actually ride the bike. So one account can unlock multiple pieces of equipment. But we do that for a couple of reasons. The main one is that those that are 16 and older, it is not illegal to ride a bike without a helmet, although we strongly encourage it.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah. Just really a comment. Having the bikes over towards the library and not down in Battery Park, they would have parking facility right there.
Mm-hmm.
The bikes will be. They're at the trailhead. You can service the marina for people coming in, because our marina is part of the Great American Loop, which is a boat loop that starts pretty much in Chicago and goes all the way down to Mississippi and up around the east.
One day I'm gonna do that loop.
It's quite a great loop. It's just that the parking down in town in Battery Park on weekends
Mm-hmm.
is nuts. It's not something that you would want to just drive into town and say, oh, let's go rent a bike, because you've got the fort going all summer long, the restaurants downtown, people going to the post office to pick up their mail. Everyone in town has to go to the post office to pick up their mail every day. We don't have delivery service, so the town, and I live like a block from the main part of town, gets really congested and pretty much impossible to park. So we get people parking all the way up on the second block and up on the third block. So I would think that thinking about putting your racks closer towards the library in that particular area have a great library system that people can go in and visit. We've always got cool stuff going on in the library. And it's just closer to everything. There's a restaurant at that end also, just something to consider. But
Sure.
Parking in our town is an absolute premium on weekends, in the summer between April and September. So it's something for you to consider.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate that feedback,
It
you know,
might look
100%.
ideal for you, but it's, I actually think it'd be a better location to go up to the area by the marina.
So we found two things. Working in other small towns, Chesapeake City is one. I'll use Chesapeake City actually as a really good example. They, for those of you who have not been, the town is actually kind of split in half by the canal. So they've got a north side and they've got a south side. And what we found, we actually had a bike rack location on either side. But the north side really has that bike trail, and they have a lot of the foot traffic which goes right by our rack on the north side for that bike trail. The south side, conveniently right by the marina, it's kind of downtown. But what we found is that the south side actually isn't viable, so we're in the process of pulling that, mainly because we need that foot traffic on that trail. So I think that in this case, in our really quick analysis of your town, and mind you, I'm completely open to a conversation and trying something out. It's very easy for me to take a rack from one place and move it to another. But you kind of want the bikes in the center hub of your town when people are already out walking about. And the reason why I say that is because our bikes really start to integrate into their day, and they need to know that they're an option. So our ridership, we find, they'll take a ride on a bike and then they end up next to a coffee shop, and so they end up in the coffee shop. Or, in your town, as an example, that you grab the ferry over, and when you come back, hey, now I can take a bike ride along the canal. So it's that convenience factor that you really have to be out there in front of. And we find that it really creates good energy in that local area as well. Again, I am happy to have the discussion and rely on your local expertise. But at the end of the day, we do make an investment into the town. It's not the hugest investment in the world, but we do need to have that rack, have the volume enough to support itself.
And when are you looking to get started?
We're ready to go this spring.
Okay. And how have you typically structured it with other municipalities? Have you entered into a contract agreement with them, or how did that work?
Yeah, so our standard contract, I've actually already forwarded over an example, but it's a very easy contract. Basically, it's a yearly contract. It's got an auto renewal clause, so as long as you're happy and I'm happy, pretty much it just renews itself every year. If it came to a point where Delaware City, felt that Finn is no longer the right fit for you, we make it easy to get out of the contract just for your comfort level. So we're not locking ourselves into a 5-year deal or a 10-year deal, something along those lines.
I'm more concerned about, obviously you have to pull business license and all that stuff.
Yep.
I'm more concerned about, this might be a question for our solicitor, but considering, and I'm in favor of it. I think
Sure.
It's an added benefit to the town, especially with the other bike place going out of business. But in the interest of making sure the town is protected, we would have to probably get them to name us as an additional insured, or how would that work?
2 years ago, we looked at a very similar proposal and worked through that, and it would have been acceptable to Delaware City. So when we look at their contract, they are devising a way to make sure that we're not potentially facing any liability for them having the bicycles.
Okay.
But we also had a specific location picked out, because that is a factor within the agreement. So we'd have to talk about where you might be looking at, because we want to make sure that it's a safe location. We don't want to be a partner in a bad location, so we want to certainly coordinate to make sure everyone's in agreement the location for the bikes is a safe place.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, any other questions? Yes, sir.
No, it's just about I will kayak and jet ski out of the boat ramp on the other side of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think if you were renting kayaks, that would be a great enhancement for the neighborhood. But people who are coming here, they're gonna need like a quadruple size porta potty to change. Most people aren't gonna come here in a bathing suit. So you're gonna have to put something where maybe somebody can put on a bathing suit real quick, or a quick change over there on the other side. You know, rentals, all that kind of stuff.
So while we do deal with paddle sports, our proposal for Delaware City does not involve paddle sports. It's solely just for bicycles at this point.
Well, for the bicycles, wasn't there a place right here by, Krabby's? I don't know if
Yeah,
they're.
that's what I just asked about, they went out of business.
Yeah, so I mean, that was like 2 years and then no longer, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But if that's the risk he's willing to take,
Yeah,
you
hey.
know.
No cost
Did you-
to us.
Linda, did you have a question?
I do, will you be able to do one-way bike rentals, like rent it in Delaware City and drop it off in St. George's?
All the bikes have to come back to the same spot that they were rented from. Yeah. If not, all of the bikes would end up all at one place, and then we'd be shuttling them around all the time.
All right, unless council has any objections, I don't think this needs to come back to council. I just recommend working with the city manager on the contract and the details.
Okay.
Council okay with that?
Absolutely.
I'm in favor.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, we're gonna move on to old business. There's no items on the agenda this evening for old business. We're gonna go into new business. The first item is discussion on assisting Juneteenth 2025, as Linda talked about in her statement. I believe the intention is to bring back the band Best Kept Soul. I believe their fee is $3,000. Main Street has committed $1,000 of that. My thought process is for Delaware City to pick up the other $2,000 with the caveat. What I believe happened back before COVID hit. We give them a deposit for the mayor's ball. We didn't have the mayor's ball because of COVID. I don't believe that deposit was ever returned because we were gonna have them hold it until we re-implemented the mayor's ball. So my proposal would just be for the city to commit to $2,000 and just use the funding that they already have, they're holding for the mayor's ball. If everybody's okay with that, I just like that in the form of a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we, bring back, Best Kept Soul for, Juneteenth celebration and let them use the deposit we've already given them, and in addition, up to $2,000 from us.
All right.
No, I second it.
All right, motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion's carried.
They were fantastic.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right, the second discussion is, I asked for this to be put on there, this is for discussion on the weekly newspaper. As everybody knows, was it about a year or so ago, Terry?
That what?
We partnered with the weekly.
I've been trying to get into Delaware City for about 3 years now.
Okay. So, we partnered kind of with the weekly to kind of get a joint newspaper between the city of Newcastle and Delaware City, try to get the communication out there between both municipalities. A lot of things we kind of do together jointly and share events and stuff like that. Unfortunately, the subscriptions have not gotten the weekly where they need to be for Delaware City, so we're at the point now where we may lose the weekly coverage for Delaware City. One of the proposals that was considered is potentially reaching out to sponsors or donors like the refinery, some of the businesses around here, see if they'd be willing to sponsor the weekly, and somehow get it out to all of our residents. I wanted to bring this up because I know we do a newsletter. Some people kind of rely on the newsletter. We do social media. We try to get the information out there. And I know, there's a pretty good group of people that when we did the newsletter to every mailbox, they ended up in the recycle bin down at the Vale, and it was just a waste. So I wanted to see what council's thoughts were on that proposal, and, you know, what we would do as far as, we just solicit input from the public to see who would want a subscription instead of sending it out to everybody. So I'm looking for feedback on the idea, on the proposal, what we need to do to kind of continue a weekly in Delaware City. Unfortunately, the city is not funded to pay for subscriptions for everybody in town, unfortunately.
Can I give you a little bit more information when you're ready?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
The sort of synergy that happens, and it's happened in Newcastle, I don't know how many, there's not a lot of us here tonight, but I'm not sure how many of you subscribe. I know you do, what happens and what happened in Newcastle, and you can see that there's a lot more Newcastle information right now because we created that synergy with the city. What happened was the city started posting their agendas. They became, and we can talk to our city solicitor about this, they became a legal posting, right? So you don't just have to put it up at we only put it in the paper and on the front of the city building. So that becomes a legal posting. It's also timely. I think the newsletter is awesome. I love it, but it's not timely. This comes out every week. The agendas come out, notices come out, important information. Oh, by the way, there's a holiday, the city is closed, or because of weather, you know, this is not happening this week. So what happens is the paper sort of becomes the city's record, right? It's timely record. And then this synergy happens where residents become more engaged, they subscribe more, so advertisers advertise more because we've got more people looking at the paper. And that enables me to give money to Delaware City Day and to pay to have these things recorded and posted and printed and everything. So we just kind of brainstormed with Brittany and Mayor Johnson about what possibilities are out there. You know, I don't think a lot of Delaware City residents really know that much about the weekly. I've given it out at the end of, you know, meetings sometimes, and so many people have said I haven't heard about it. So I'm not sure what other way. One way we talked about, like Mayor Johnson said, was to talk to the refinery, Artesian, and possibly some other sponsors to give everyone in Delaware City, because there's only like 906 households, to give everyone in Delaware City a year's subscription for just 1 year to see if it's something that they, and to bring the city notices in to see if it's something that they want to keep going. So we have no particular proposal in mind except to say, is there anything that any residents would like to ask, add, and if council has any thoughts on how we might be able to do that and what we're willing to look into. Did I say that right, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I have a question. Yeah, do you have a website?
Yes.
The newspaper is posted on the website?
Not the full newspaper, no.
Okay.
You can subscribe on it, you can advertise on it, put forms on it,
Right, but you don't have it.
no, because personally, this is just a personal thing. I hate reading papers where every other line is an ad for Temu or TikTok or whatever, so we won't put the paper online.
Okay.
Terry, what's the, you know, so we can kind of put a timeline to this. What, if we're not able to bridge that gap, what's the timeline that we would probably end up losing the weekly?
I don't want to leave Delaware City. I love Delaware City, as a lot of the residents know. I've been looking for a house here. So I'm going to keep going as long as I can do that. So
we can help put it out in our newsletter, social media. I mean, it's very, very cost effective. It's what, $35 for the whole year?
For the year. And it actually, believe it or not, it costs me over $1 a newspaper, but I charge 50 cents for it. But that's where the synergy comes in. The advertising helps pay for it for the people who read it.
No, understood.
Yeah.
Understood. But to put $1 to that, I guess, you know, 900 homes, $35, you're probably looking around
$33,000.
About 30,000 a year.
500.
Thank
How
you.
much?
31,500.
Okay.
Can I ask you money, Jan?
What's council's thoughts? Any recommendations? What's council's pleasure on this?
Oh, I love the weekly. I think the weekly's great. I look forward every week to come, and it does have a section with Delaware City in there. And it is nice. I mean, I personally really like it.
I enjoy it. The Great deal.
It's a very good deal.
I mean, I think we could,
Terry and the folks who work with her have been very, very supportive of Delaware City, and I feel personally a lot of appreciation for them taking on the task of trying to maintain a paper newspaper, and realize that the challenges with printing costs and everything continue to escalate. It's my hope that we could find a means for doing, even if it's a bit of a loss leader, a way to give the folks in town a chance to see it, and also to have a greater level of interaction. I don't think that the newspaper should completely replace Delaware City's direct communications
No.
or our own newsletter.
No.
We probably still need an official version of some sort, but we subscribe to the newspaper, and we read it cover to cover every week, and it might appeal more to an older demographic to have a paper newspaper. Perhaps there's something we can do to help spread the novelty around a little bit. And then one last thought is, perhaps if we're close but not quite there, Terry, you can sort of sharpen your pencil and see if we can come to like an intro discount or something that would allow us to make this happen.
Absolutely.
I think that you would build readership in the long term. If I had a question, would be what kind of a percentage increase would you reasonably hope for?
Well, like I said, I don't really think it's any one thing, like we need X number of subscribers, because as I said, the printed papers themselves are actually a loss leader in their own right. But what I'd like to create is first having city council agendas in there, so everybody who gets the paper can see what's coming up. They don't necessarily have to go to the website. And I think that will bring on more subscribers, and then therefore more advertisers, et cetera, that pay for it all.
Terry, could you do, I think if we were able to accomplish it, it's gonna be done two ways. It's gonna be done by increasing the amount of subscribers we have, and also offering some type of sponsorship as well, in combination. Could you put some type of proposal or package together, different levels for sponsorships? Like, if I'm a large business and I say I donate $5,000-$10,000 to the weekly, I'm gonna expect some type of free advertisement in exchange for that.
Absolutely.
Can you put a package together and just tell us what that looks like?
I can, and I will, absolutely. But I think the thing that I would love for council to discuss, probably not necessarily in this forum, is are you willing to work something out where you can put your agendas and notices in the paper? Because that's the key. Having information in there that's really important that Delaware City people want to read.
As part of that proposal, can you put a proposal in there of what that would look like for the city?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, perfect. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm from that generation where I've seen newspapers and people who don't see newspapers.
Right.
As I grew up. And I've been here for about 4 years, and I did subscribe to that newspaper.
Thank you.
And for the first couple of years, it was enjoyable, but 5 out of 8 pages
We're Newcastle.
advertisements about Route 40, Pat's Pizza way out there, and there was maybe 2 or 3 pages of in-town information, which I enjoyed personally.
Sure.
So I think, like to keep it close to home, I don't know if those 2 or 3 pages can go on the monthly newsletter, or, and even if you charge, I subscribe to your monthly newsletter now because it's now online, unless you want the paper copy. So I get the paper copy because I like to see the paper, and if you charge a little something for the paper, or, I mean,
Let me
if
give you,
still want
I'd
the
like.
weekly, you can still get it.
Right.
I think sometimes 5 pages of advertisements,
I get it.
distracts people.
Yeah.
So,
But let me explain a couple things. First of all, about the demographic. Newcastle in particular has an older demographic, although that's changing rapidly. Younger people are moving to town with families, which I love. We've got a lot of young entrepreneurs in town, so that's really changing. But in terms of the advertisements, they are the only thing that pay for the paper. That's it. You know, like I said, subscribers pay $35 a year. It costs me over 70 per subscription. But raising rates on a small paper, people really don't want that. You know what I mean? So we're just trying to do the best we can to make this a Delaware City hometown paper while keeping all the other stuff in the back. So, and another thing about big papers and small papers, I know a lot of people think that newspapers are going out of fashion. And when it comes to, and I'm sorry if I'm insulting anyone here, but I'll use the Wilmington News Journal. I have more Facebook followers than they have subscribers. And they hit, you know, a lot of Delaware, or they used to. So we're doing a lot better, we're doing a lot more. I think if you look at the advertisements now, you'll find that that's not so much anymore. There's a lot of legal stuff in the back, as Mr. Redondo can probably tell you, that people advertise with me for, but that's about it. But thank you for subscribing.
All right, Tara, if you could get those proposals, whenever it's done, if you could get that proposal to Brittany, and then we'll put it on next month's agenda for consideration.
Yep, you got it.
All right.
Mr. Dudley, I think you had a question.
My thought was that you probably have at least 100 of us now in Dover, so you say there's 900. If we could get to like 35, 37%, would that be enough to suffice?
Again, it's
Do you need the whole 900 or?
No, it's not that. It's the price of a subscription is a loss leader for me. So it's not that I need, 100 more subscriptions. I need the city to become involved so that more people want to subscribe, which means advertisers will want to advertise. That's how I can afford it in Newcastle. Just to get 100 subscribers more, let's say, that'll bring in $3,500 a year and cost me $7,000 a year. You see what I mean? So it's got to be kind of a whole thing that works together. If there's information in there that Delaware City residents want to read, they'll subscribe, and then advertisers will follow.
Understood. Anyone else? Yes.
I was just gonna say, I love the weekly. I count on seeing all the photos, the recipes, and like you said, the information is very timely. A lot of, it's timely. I think there is a lot of Newcastle coverage.
There is.
But that could be different. We can send you pictures and little stories and stuff.
Absolutely.
But I was just thinking, like, Newcastle has a lot of business consumers. The customer base there is really large, and I think it would really do well for Delaware City, for the people in Newcastle to see stuff about Delaware City, and that would tend to let them come over here, know what we're about, and share some of the wealth.
That was actually one of my original thoughts, is because I loved coming here and there's a lot of great businesses here, and I wanted people in Newcastle to come spend their money here too, the same way. So
we'll look out for the proposal and
yes.
Put it on the agenda for next month.
Thank you very much.
Yep. All right, item number 3 is ordinance 25-0127-01 related to zoning regulations for dispensaries. So this will be the introduction and first reading. And I believe this was put on the agenda because of all the feedback council was getting when we had a makeshift dispensary downtown. Synopsis for this, just to be clear, the synopsis for this will prohibit municipalities, let's say, to operate any type of manufacturing, testing, or retail stores in any of the zoning districts. Again, this is the introduction and first reading. Public hearing would be held next month, and a final vote would be taken next month. So, the opportunity for feedback from the public would be next month at the public hearing. So, having said that, did I miss anything, Bill, or you want to?
No, I think you covered everything. As the councilman stated earlier, the state passed the Delaware Marijuana Control Act that would allow these 4 uses, but they also include in that state law the ability for any municipality to completely prohibit those things from occurring in the municipality or limit them. As the councilman stated, several other smaller jurisdictions have already passed legislation to prohibit any of these 4 uses within their jurisdiction. And the city of Wilmington, somewhere in between prohibiting it and allowing it with certain restrictions, that's yet to be seen. But this would actually prohibit any of those 4 uses that are permitted by the statute within Delaware City.
All right. Open the floor to council.
Do we have a rough draft already, Bill? Do you have?
We do.
Is it lengthy, or would it be possible to read it to the public?
Yeah, I could read, I mean, so it's just this part down here, right? So it says, whereas the mayor and city council desire to add section 4629 to the code of the city of Delaware City to prohibit marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing, marijuana testing facilities, and retail marijuana stores in all zoning districts. That's the change.
Thank you, that's pretty clear.
All right, any other questions from council? Is there a motion for the introduction and first reading?
Yes, I'll make a motion for introduction and first reading.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion is second. Any further discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Councilmember Douglas.
Yes.
Councilmember Turley.
Yes.
Councilmember Delaplane.
Yes.
You had to call the other ones, even if they're not here.
Vice Mayor Jackson.
He's absent.
Councilmember Roberts.
Also absent. Thank you. The motion is carried, and it will be on the agenda next month along with the public hearing. All right, I want to move on to member of council comments. Councilman Douglas.
No comments. Good meeting.
All right. Councilwoman Delaplane.
No comments at this time.
Councilman Turley.
Just a question, in the last, council meeting was mentioned that the ARPA funds would be made available for paving projects. I wasn't at that meeting, so that, are the paving projects, would they include areas where the sidewalks are in pretty poor, disrepair because of the city trees?
We're working on 2 sections of sidewalk, city-owned sidewalk now. One is on, 5th Street across from Kathy's where the community center is.
Yes.
The other part is runs parallel to Clinton Street at 7th Street Park. They were already approved through the cutting edge. And we're looking at some remaining ARPA funds to help out, Fort DuPont. They have some sidewalk over there that's gonna be, in the city right away. Is that correct, Tim? Pretty much city sidewalks. Since we annexed in Fort DuPont, we're looking to be able to help them out with some sidewalks over there as well.
All right, very well. The tree commission have provided 5 locations that were in extremely poor condition. 1 or 2 of them over in Harbor Estates, the others were here in town. So I didn't know if any of those sites were being considered for repairs, but some of them are in extremely, projecting sort of thing where they, people could fall over.
Here's the other option too, if you want, if you want to take the lead on this, as far as the tree commission, there is $28,000 sitting in the mayor's ball account. It's been sitting there for 5 years. If you want to go back to the mayor's ball committee and ask them if they're okay to allocate some of that to sidewalk repairs, and if they're okay with that, we'll put it on next month's agenda.
Okay, I'll look into it and see what I come up with.
And if you could attach a number to that. I don't want to just keep it open-ended. I kind of need to know like how much it's going to be, you know what I mean?
Right, understood. Yeah, I think we already had some assessment work done on that.
Yep.
This last year, and then, it kind of got the side table.
And the other thing for all the council to keep in mind is the opening for the community reinvestment fund is going to be opening in, I think, February. I don't know the exact date, middle of February. That's where we apply for money through the state for community reinvestment projects, which include paving, sidewalks, capital, infrastructure projects. So if council has anything, get those to the city manager so she can apply for community reinvestment funds, and we can get that in the queue. That's how we've been able to get a lot of things done through Delaware City, absent a capital budget per se. So if you have anything, get that to the city manager, please. And I think for mine, I think everything has pretty much been covered.
Mr. Mayor, can I address the emergency ordinance, because we're gonna have to.
Yes.
So essentially, as I described earlier, there's an emergency ordinance to, revise the timeline to get the election for the mayor. But because it's an emergency ordinance, we need 4 members of council to vote in support of that. We only have 3 tonight. So in order to meet the time frame set forth in this emergency ordinance, we're gonna have to have a brief, special meeting next week. That only could be called with 8 hours notice, so there's not a lot of, lead time required, but we do need 4 members to vote in favor of that to adjust the timelines appropriately. And in addition, it has to be noticed to the public, if the public would like to come to that meeting. So I would suggest it has to happen before February 10th. So one day next week, there could be a brief meeting that could be publicized on the website to have a special meeting just on that issue. And we have to make sure, of course, that we have 4 members of council available for that.
Right. Okay. So since technically this closes Friday, are we still able to take applications up until, contingent upon this passing?
Well, I don't, I think that you can take applications, essentially, the issue is we have to post a notice. So essentially, we post a notice to let everyone know that they can then submit applications. We can submit that notice now, because the issue really was the amount of time people would have to actually submit their application. We didn't want to shorten that, we wanted to expand that to give people time to do that.
Absolutely.
But we can't, so I mean, if we're gonna have a special meeting next week, which we're required to do to get this, adjusted, I think we can still post a notice that there's a election for the seat of the mayor that will take place on April 1st. We're not budging that date. The April 1st date is set forth in the charter. So we're adjusting the time frame, so that people would have sufficient time to submit their application. So we're actually making it more available to people instead of putting out that notice today and giving people to the end of the week to submit for mayor. So.
All right, I know there's only 3 of us tonight, but you wanna set the date this evening? Or do you wanna have Brittany solicit, available times for council? I'll make myself available, so it doesn't matter to me. I'll make sure I'm here whenever it is. Want Brittany to send out an email tomorrow soliciting date and times for next week? Make it easy, because I don't wanna speak for the other 2 that's not here.
Okay, that works for me. It works for me.
You okay with that, Brittany?
Yep.
And then we'll post that ordinance on the website. It's just as I described tonight, it's basically to create, a deadline by which, really the key thing is for people to apply to run for mayor. They would have to apply by March 2nd under the proposed ordinance versus a much shorter time frame. So we'll put that ordinance on the website for people to see.
And
And
then-
there'll be public comment available before that vote is taken.
And then another thing, I don't know, it's always been that way since I've been on, or been at this table for 14 years, and I've never really questioned it, but I don't know why the mayor was 60 days and council was 30 days. Is there any way we can just make them both 60 days so it's consistent? Because when one's 60 and one's 30, there's always a potential for something to slip through.
There's no need for that. We should make it consistent one way or another. We can discuss that the next meeting, 30 or 60 days. It just should be consistent. Right now, it's different, and that throws unnecessary wrinkle to things.
I'm in favor of making it 60 for both and making it as long as possible. That way nobody can say they were excluded, they didn't know about it, you know what I mean? It's open, it's transparent, so. All right, so Brittany will send out an email tomorrow saying, checking availability, we'll set the date for mayor. All right, let's see. I think that is is it. Everything that I was gonna bring up has already been covered. Going to citizens' comments, is there any citizens that would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Yeah, question for the, chief. We were talking about, marijuana, and maybe about 6 or 8 weeks ago, out in front of the blacksmith shop, after they got sold, there were some guys out front with a table on the sidewalk selling marijuana openly. I just didn't know if that's legal, allowed. It went on for like 2 weeks as I would walk to the post office. I'm just curious.
I have to defer to the city manager. I don't think it was marijuana, they had a license.
Yeah, so their product actually wasn't marijuana, it was all legal products that could be sold in retail, like gas stations and things like that. They did get a mobile business license to be able to operate that, but they have not renewed their license and are not back, so. But the product was, it looked like that, it was a type of smoke, but it wasn't any illegal substance.
Yeah, we didn't have anything that prohibited, so it was legal. But just for the record, could you state your name and address, please?
Jeff Williamson, 205 Adams.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Any other citizens' comments?
One more question.
Yes.
My wife is a, Facebook user, which I am really not, but I noticed there's a new site called the City of Delaware City Facebook site. I don't know if that's new or just something that I didn't see before. I noticed a couple of posts starting around Christmas, and there was 1 or 2 entries about, people were asking about how to dispose of their Christmas trees. And, there was really no response, because I guess Christmas was, let's say it was on a Wednesday, and garbage day was Monday with cutting edge. So people are like, well, we usually keep our tree for another week or 2, and there was no reply. So me personally, I ended up giving my tree to Drag and Run, and they actually sent me a couple pictures back to go see my tree. So, but I seen you guys had a couple of posts about like, garbage was delayed a week or 2 ago because of snow. But I don't know if it's you guys who run that site, and do you
Well, there's a couple pages out there.
usually, respond to, resident comments? I know you can't respond to everything.
There's a couple pages out there that's not an official city page. The official city page is actually the City of Delaware City.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Okay, that's the official page.
That's the one I've seen. It seemed to start around Christmas, people talking about Christmas trees.
Okay.
But there was no response about what to do with them. So I was just curious if you guys respond, if this is your guys' website.
That's the Facebook site. Like the Christmas trees just go out with the normal recycle.
No, I get it, but I mean, there's been other posts about garbage, this and that, concurrently the next week or 2. And I just didn't know if that's where you guys will usually respond to those questions. If I responded.
So Town Hall, it runs the Facebook page, so it would be someone at Town Hall. We make posts and updates, I don't know, during office hours, sometimes we do I don't do it typically, but sometimes we all can get on the Facebook page and respond to comments, but we do get a lot of comments and a lot of spam comments, so typically it's more of just posting the information, than really going back and forth on the posts. But, as far as the Christmas tree goes, typically with Cutting Edge, it's the Monday after Christmas, their yard waste collection will take the trees.
No,
I know a couple people were wanting to have it longer because they're not ready to get rid of their trees that quick. So, I mean, that's something we can think about for next year, maybe having two tree pickups from them so that the people that aren't ready to get rid of it. So we'll look into that and we'll
Just
post.
open any information,
Yeah.
town information.
Yeah, and I'll talk to the staff and anytime, if we, just make sure we're watching the comments. But it's more just for us to post information, but.
All right, citizens' comments.
There is a post on here, from the City of Delaware City on December 28th regarding Christmas tree disposal. Okay, it's saying that, this Monday, 12:30, yard waste pickup will include collection of Christmas trees. So, but there was a comment on December 28th from the city, posted on Facebook. Sometimes you don't see everything that's posted on Facebook.
It may get to the point, because there's been some, people put stuff on there, negative, spam and stuff like that. It may get to the point, honestly, where we just shut the comments off and just use it to post shove information out there. A lot of municipalities don't even allow people to comment on the official site, but, just keep that in mind as well, so.
There are 2 other Delaware City pages, maybe 3, where lots of stuff is posted, but they're private people's pages but they're very informative, so.
All right, citizens comments, any other citizens comment?
Lydia, Madison Street, who do we talk to, about livestock?
Livestock?
Yeah, like, are we allowed to have livestock, like chickens and things in town?
No.
Okay.
You'd have to get a hold of the city manager, and she'd give it to the code enforcement officer. Tim?
Tim Bill, Lane 118, Clinton. Questions for Lori? This, person from social services starting tomorrow?
She started last week, but yes, she will be there tomorrow.
Okay, she's a regular employee of social services?
She's not an employee of the library, it's through the state division of
Social
libraries.
services.
Yes.
Okay. Does she handle, I guess she can be involved in handling questions from people that have problems with existing accounts?
Yes, and if she can't help you, she can direct you to who can.
Cool, thank you.
All right, citizens comments. Last call, citizens comments. All right, we do have a couple of items we have to go into executive session for. Everybody's more than welcome to hang out. I don't know how long we'll be, but we do have to go into executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So they need to carry days.
Is there a motion?